the cozy gaming community has always kind of been there, but it's skyrocketed in popularity and in need and in niche during the pandemic, is that we're starting to recognize that specifically the Western industrial concept of work and workflow does not work for the average person, and absolutely does not work for the person who struggles with, ADHD or, unsupported levels of like autism and whatnot. And so I don't even know where I was going with that. It's more that
No, I agree. It absolutely doesn't work, and it fails people every day.
Mhm.
And so people like me that are lucky to make something that is typically people's hobbies
Mhm.
into work, it's like an astronomical blessing.
Mhm.
It's insane, and it's out there, and it's ready to be done, And I don't know, that just blows my mind. Like I just really, I don't get it. I don't understand the world.
Mhm.
Sometimes it makes me so mad that like this system fails people
Mhm.
constantly all the time.
Hello, friends, and welcome to Gamers Gab, the podcast by gamers for gamers. I'm Artsy from the Artsy Gamer. I make art, I play games, and I encourage others to do the same. And joining me today for a really delightful episode, revolving a lot of the things that I don't think we really talk about, both in content creation and in gaming, is none other than Liss the MOST. So, Liss, before we get started in today's episode, if you would, give us a nice introduction about your sweet self and your pronouns, please, and thank you.
Yes, hello. I am Liss the MOST, and I am very bad at technical things, as we know, as Artsy knows super well. And I am a YouTuber. I love gaming, and my pronouns are she, her.
So, Liss, I don't know if you would describe yourself as a cozy content creator, but I do know that you use your platform for humor, hilarious insights, both in your life and just how you play games. I think one of my favorite things about you is that you have very frank discussions about the struggles that you've had with mental illness, such as depression, but also with procrastination in your workflow. So, how did you get started in gaming? I guess we can start there, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. With gaming, I guess in general, I always gravitated towards video games growing up. I was kind of that kid that did not really want to go outside, and I didn't really want to go to the playground. No interest in sports really. And so like the next best thing was to be like my little bookworm self. And I really enjoyed TV and movies. And then I met one of my friends in elementary school. She showed me Pokemon. And I was like, dude, this is like the coolest thing ever. And she would Naruto run on the playground. And I'd be like, that's actually the coolest kid at this school. And so for me, it kind of just became like a total obsession. I loved the phase that I think a lot of people my age, I'm 26, a lot of people can relate to, especially in our generation, of like the MMO takeover. So like playing RuneScape, that I still play to this day, playing RuneScape, playing things like Habbo Hotel, playing Neopets, all of that stuff. It had such a huge prominence in my childhood, and gaming was just always like a huge part of me, particularly Nintendo. First consoles I had was the DS and then the Wii, and it's my life. I just love it.
So, I think one of my favorite sayings that I have been just hyper fixating on is the notion that when you hit your 30s, you're still the weird, quirky self that you were when you were a child. Only you can afford things, hopefully, and you can't move your head to the left all the way anymore. So we still are kind of just the same people that we were growing up, and I guess with you evolving but maintaining that love of gaming, what led to your decision to getting into content creation?
It happened during the pandemic. I went to film school. I went to film school before the pandemic. I was in community college, in the film program there, and I did theater for many, many years. That was my thing. in high school and in college was technical theater, a little bit of acting, but it wasn't really like my favorite thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I naturally kind of got into film school through a friend. And I learned a lot there. I learned a lot about editing and various weird tech stuff there. And so I felt like I had the tools if I ever wanted to like be a YouTuber. I just was entirely too shy. And so during the pandemic, when Animal Crossing came out, I really, really wanted to show people my Animal Crossing island on Twitter. And so I had to buy this capture card to do a full island tour, of course. And then from there, I just kind of kept making videos, and I would tour other people's islands for the most part. And then I slowly got into showing my building process and growing as a YouTuber. You always kind of like, no matter what kind of tools you have, you start from ground zero. Excuse me, I just had like the most delicious fried oyster sandwich an hour ago, so I'm gonna be a little gassy. But like you start from ground zero, no matter like what you're set up with. Like you know how to use a camera, sure. You know how to edit in Premiere, sure. You know how to set up a microphone, kind of, sure. But you don't know how to like have personality online yet. Like that does not come natural to anybody. So you have to kind of just like dive in. And for me, that was really scary to think about. But I always knew that it would be something I'd be super interested in because I love YouTube. And yeah, it sort of just happened. And now here we are. And I'm so glad that I tried it. And I tried not to think about it too hard, but I was like very scared for a minute, and I'm glad I took the leap.
So okay, for those who don't know, and I don't know if this is true or not, but I feel that people started to recognize your name and your brand through a specific series that you introduced the concept of normcore, where you went kind of back to the 2020 vibes of what everyone was doing before, like themes and other cores kind of imploded in Animal Crossing. So what was it about Animal Crossing that was the perfect game to really start sharing yourself and I guess overcoming these fears of showing this side of you to other people?
Animal Crossing has been a constant through my life. It was one of the first games that I played on DS.
Oh, wow.
And Wild World. And I've still never played the first Animal Crossing. That's a huge goal of mine this year, is I'd love to give it a shot. And I loved Wild World, and I played every game since. And so I was so excited for New Horizons. And I really wanted to get into the community. Like I loved the online community that was forming, especially at the very beginning of the game when it was like very mainstream. That was so fun to see people from around the world, people that weren't typical gamers, getting really into the Animal Crossing craze. And it sort of encouraged me more to try it myself and to just try to really put myself more into the videos instead of showing off my friends' islands from Twitter. And so I don't know, it sort of worked out beautifully. And with the normcore thing, I really wanted to make an island that was simple because, you know, not gonna lie, no hate guys, but I kept touring people's islands, and maybe it's just how my brain works, but I would get myself stuck. Like stuck in your little cute cottagecore, fairycore areas. They're adorable and so sweet, but like, how do you play the game on this island? I don't know. You're playing a different kind of game than me, I think, because I've never been advanced enough to even make islands that beautiful. And so I also kind of wanted to call it normcore, which is already a phrase, but I thought normcore was funny because like people were taking the cores really serious at the time. And so I kind of just wanted to poke fun at like how serious everybody was taking this. And particularly like online, you know, I don't think it was like mainstream how people were getting up in arms about Animal Crossing island themes, but you know, I just wanted it to be a fun thing and very simple. And I think that the simpler the better for me, just in general. And so I thought it was a wonderful island theme, and apparently other people did too. People liked the sentiment.
Well, I have to say that it took me a hot minute, but when you designed Phoebe's house with that lava, I fell in love with that, and I had to use that lava path for everything after. So I think what I really loved about both your content and something that Sienna over at Sienna Crossing did was you kind of just normalized playing the game that you wanted and not taking it too seriously, and still recognizing that what you bring to both the island and to the table and just to content creation has value, because we are normalizing regular people with regular stories and regular struggles, and still showing that it is possible in a very nook eat nook world, that you can have a voice in content creation and in various platforms. So I hope this is a good segue, because I know that when I was broaching the topic of having you on Gamers Gab during a Twitch stream of yours, that you wanted to talk about, I think, normalizing those conversations about workflow and like why you create the content the way you do. And one of the main struggles that you talked about was procrastination. And I think that the way that you have utilized Animal Crossing specifically, I think allows for you to really create content that brings you joy, but also makes it, I guess, a little bit more easier for the brain that you have. So at what point did you recognize that procrastination or various struggles needed to be integrated to your workflow? Is that something that you can like start talking about from the very beginning as an introduction to your brain?
Oh, yeah. I mean, well, I am unmedicated for my ADHD. I haven't been medicated since I was in high school because
Mm-hmm.
healthcare, shout out America.
Woo!
And so for me, I have spent a lot of my adult life, all of it, learning how to like cope
Mm-hmm.
with not having that help anymore.
Yeah.
And I always really struggled in a lot of different environments. I was a server, I was a bartender. I was doing good at these jobs, but like I really would have to sit down and be like, how do I make this work for me?
Mm-hmm.
And I did the same thing when I was sitting down and figuring out how do I work on videos more efficiently.
Mm-hmm.
Because doing the island tours was a lot more work than building an area on my island in my house. And so I thought, okay, these building videos are doing not as good right now as these tour videos, which
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately you have to think about how good something is doing.
Yeah.
And so like I hate that, but I also was like, I think I'm just going to go all in on these building videos because it's easier for me to do multiple of these a week and still have time for everything else that I'm trying to accomplish. Like I have to fill my plate with only so much. And so taking that leap and moving into a different content style
Mm-hmm.
was crucial for me because it ended up working out in the end. But it was kind of like, okay, all right, how do I more efficiently plan my content out? Instead of
Mm-hmm.
making myself do something like a longer video, why don't I try to do a shorter video and really just put my whole thing in there, and be able to really give it my undivided attention instead of like half-assing the edit in the end, that I
Mm-hmm.
would do sometimes with longer videos.
Mm-hmm.
And so now I'm trying to kind of flip the switch because I really have been itching to make longer videos, and I have been itching to make more elaborate and more produced videos. But I suck really bad at planning. I am a last minute person. I've always been that way. I wrote my senior paper in high school in like less than a couple days because I didn't do anything for like 4 months prior to when it was due. I didn't do a
Yeah.
single damn thing. I just do this, I just don't
Mm-hmm.
know why. I think it's something that is deeply, deeply wrong with me that thinks, oh, I do my best work when I'm under pressure. And I kind of force myself to like be in these scenarios. It's so strange. It's so bizarre because I think I'm doing it subconsciously.
I feel very called out, but also very vindicated, because I think the majority of all of my master's papers were the night before or the day of, and I think I wrote and hashed out 25 to 30 page papers with that level because you know, I don't know if my brain is spicy. It probably is. There's probably a little bit of paprika in there, but I do find that my best workflow is not overthinking it and just doing it, because I just finished a video list that took me over a month and a half to to brace myself to actually do it. And then when I finished, I was like, why did I take literally a month and a half to do this? It's not hard, but so
Even little household tasks, I do the same thing where I'm like, oh, like I really, really don't want to do this thing, and it takes me 30 minutes. And I'm like, why did I think about that and put that off for 6 months? Like, are we serious? Like, I could have just, like the other day, Goodwill. I had a bunch of stuff to donate to Goodwill, and it just sat in a box for like, I don't even know how long. I literally moved it across states. I moved it from Arizona to California, where I am now. This box that had to go to Goodwill because I just was too lazy to take it to Goodwill. And then I did it, and I was like, oh, wow, that quite literally took me 30 minutes. And I just created more work in my head.
Yeah, well, and I feel that the society that we live in today really doesn't prioritize that conversation about how really giving people whose brains process things differently the ability to like have that support. And I know that the American healthcare system is very much to be desired. It really breaks my heart that you're basically, I think one of the ways that I describe it is that you are at the boss level and you have just literally started the game with your base armor and your sword and trying to like do the boss battle when everyone else seems to have like worked their way up and like found all of the things that they needed to take on the boss. And it's a struggle that I think a lot of people have every day and may not even realize that there's a little bit of paprika and neurodivergence or struggles that they have. And to be honest, we have lived in a pandemic for 3 years, and you know, personal life stuff can really impact your everyday workflow. But Liss, what I really do love about your content and just about your streaming in general is the fact that you are so open and honest about the struggles you have with start to finishing tasks, with your struggles with depression and unmedicated ADHD. And I wanted to hear why you thought it was really important to make that, I wouldn't say the forefront of your content, but a very important underlying message of like, hey, I'm struggling, but here's a thing, and I wanted to share. And you do that with such grace, truly.
Oh, thank you. I saw this TikTok the other day. I've mentioned this TikTok a couple times. I saw this TikTok. It was like, influencers are so annoying. They think they're the first ones to go through anything. And I'm like, that is so true, because that's like so me. I'm like, oh my God, why is nobody talking about depression? It's like, babes, everyone is talking about depression. Calm down. But it's mostly for me, therapeutic for me. It's not really for my audience as much as maybe it's alluded to be. But for me, I've never gone to therapy. Whoops, I don't know how I made it this long, but can you tell? But I have a lot of struggles, and I feel very alone a lot of the time, especially now. Like this has been such a hard time of my life, like the last couple months. I need to talk about it. I can't just like get online and stream for hours and hours and hours and not talk about anything that's like going on in my personal life. I feel like that's a disservice to people that watch me almost, because it's like I need to be able to like explain my own behavior sometimes, but also like to the people that watch me, because like sometimes I'm gonna come on and I'm gonna be sad, or I'm gonna cancel streams extra, and it's like, it's because of the things that I'm going through in my life, and life throws things at you. And I think that the more open I am to discussion about how I'm feeling, the more of an understanding I have with the people that want to come and hang out with me in my streams, and it makes me feel better, and it makes me feel like, I don't know, I guess parasocial in a way. Maybe I have a parasocial relationship with my audience, but like I like kind of depend on them sometimes, you know, and I think it's okay to come online and just be honest and talk about things, because truthfully, like with all the stuff that has happened to me recently, like I got dumped by my boyfriend of 6 years who I lived with and had to go figure out a living situation.
Yeah.
And then my dad died like a month later. I say that, and then I have people reaching out being like, I just went through that, or I went through that a couple years ago. And it offers me so much. Like it means so much to me, because it's like, God, like, thank you. I just didn't know anybody else was like able to maybe relate to me, and therefore I can relate to you, because it just it brings me so much comfort. It really does. It's so important to me.
Is I hope this isn't a rude financial question, but is content creation your main form of finances right now? Like this is your full-time job. This is what you do.
Yes.
I can only imagine how hard it is to go through so much hardship and still have to like figure out how to make ends meet for the month because you are your own boss. If you are comfortable, would you be willing to talk about not necessarily the struggle of like having to deal with all of that hardship and still having to unfortunately do the American pull yourself up by your bootstraps and do the thing, but what was the method that kind of kept you doing what you needed to do in order to keep financially thriving, so to speak? I don't know if that's the right way to ask this question.
I think the method is I'm terrified to spend money, and so I hoard it like a little goblin. Like I seriously, like I'm just like a little wealth dragon sitting on my pile of pennies. Like, you know what I mean? Because I've always been that way. I come from a family that has made terrible, awful financial decisions, and most of the time, none of them can figure out their own lives. And so another thing for me too is like I'm trying really hard to plan ahead and be smart. And right now I've been kind of like, I moved to Los Angeles. Like that's obviously like a huge gap from Arizona to Los Angeles with the amount of money that I need to be making. So, you know, I've got to compensate in some ways and I've got to figure it out. But luckily I feel like with content creation, it's out there. It's out there. Like this is, I don't know. I've spent a whole lifetime, it feels like, struggling, and I have had no financial help. I'm sure that, you know, a lot of people feel bitter and angry like I feel, of like, you look at people and you're like, wow, like you went to college, like that's lit, you know, like good for you for going to university. Like, wow, did you, like, you have your parents paying your rent. Wow, you have your parents paying your car. I spent a lot of time being so bitter. And then I realized like, oh, I want to be that parent. Like I want to be able to like support my kids someday. And then like, I also am feeling so blessed that like content creation has helped me help people in my family who like need financial help. Like things I could have never dreamed of doing before. And so that added layer of pressure is a lot, especially with my procrastination. But I have been trying to figure out a method to like really get my productivity on track and get my goals accomplished without breaking my own back, you know? Because like you can only work so many hours in the day, and you miss out on so much life when you're working. Everybody does.
Yeah.
And so for me, it's like I have to figure out that balance. And I don't know, I haven't really quite figured that out yet. But, you know, luckily the opportunity is out there. It's just waiting for me to come back and come take it. I feel
Mm-hmm.
like.
Is there, it sounds like there's a little bit of burnout also, which I think a lot of people don't recognize is a deeply rooted problem for content creators who, like, this is their job. It's like you have to output, and there's so many expectations from the community in order to do that. And again, what I love about your content is that it really humanizes the experience of what you're going through, which allows for, I would hope, some wiggle room because, you know, a death in the family and a loss in a relationship, it's like you deserve that time off in order to kind of recalibrate and figure out your life. And I think what I love about the cozy gaming community, which Iona had said, like, the cozy gaming community has always kind of been there, but it's skyrocketed in popularity and in need and in niche during the pandemic, is that I think we're starting to recognize that specifically the Western industrial concept of work and workflow does not work for the average person, and absolutely does not work for the person who struggles with, you know, ADHD or, you know, unsupported levels of like autism and whatnot. And so I don't even know where I was going with that. It's just, it's more that
No, I agree. It absolutely doesn't work, and it fails people every day.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, like people like me that are lucky to make something that is typically people's hobbies
Mm-hmm.
into work, it's like an astronomical blessing.
Mm-hmm.
It's insane, and it's out there, and it's ready to be done, you know? And I don't know, it's just that just blows my mind. Like I just really, I don't get it. I don't understand the world.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it makes me so mad that like this system fails people
Mm-hmm.
constantly all the time. And I don't know, I do feel the same way. Like cozy gaming coming out of the pandemic, like it has to mean something. There has to be like this trend of people looking for solace and looking for escape
Mm-hmm.
from the crippling weight of capitalism.
Yeah, and
I've thought the same thing.
yeah, no, absolutely. And it's, I don't want to like at people, but I do know, like, within the last year, there were 3 other content creators who were like, they had stuff happen in their lives and they were terrified of taking a break. Like, one content creator lost his best friend and was like, I have been doing this every day for 7 years and I need a week. And I'm going, my dude, please take all the time you need. And then there was somebody who was talking about struggling with anxiety. And it's like, the fact that we have to worry about that, the fact that you have to worry about that as your own boss, in addition to the struggles that perhaps a neurotypical person or a person who can function in the crippling grasp of capitalism, it's like, it's truly unfair. It really bothers me that you've effectively had to do this by yourself, unsupported, but you're striving to be that person you want to be for other people, which I think is just a beautiful emergence in finding yourself. So with that being said, yeah, with that being,
burnout is
oh, go ahead.
crazy. I just really hope that people feel maybe to take it as more of an opportunity. And I know that it's very hard when your income is dependent on content creation, and it's so freaking hard. I can't imagine being in that kind of a position, but like, you know, trying to take it as an opportunity. I think a lot of small business owners in general, not even just content creation, go through this same thing. Like when their parent dies and it's like, I have a cupcake business that will collapse without me. And small business owners, if they don't go to work that day, there's no money being made. And so it's the same thing with content creation. Like I feel like I recently have like learned the importance of life and spending every moment you can away from work, and how important it is to be like with your friends and your family. And so like taking that opportunity, I think seeing it as an opportunity, you know, when something horrific happens or when something is happening to you mentally or you just need a moment, like I truly, I hope that people are able to adjust and try to turn it into a positive in their mind, because like you only have so much time on this earth. Why are we working? I don't fucking understand.
Yeah, no, I fully get it. And I, to make this about me for a minute, my with the privilege of having therapy, I have a really good therapist who kind of calls me out because I've been like waiting to quote unquote arrive in content creation, and I've always been like trying to figure out and struggle and try new things. And that's kind of, we really do prioritize the concept of arriving, but what people don't realize is that when we arrive, we effectively die. Right. And I think we need to remember that as important as it is to find the balance of workflow and to find the balance of, you know, doing the things you have to do, doing the things you want to do, doing the things that you need to do, is that you're not going to be on your deathbed wishing that you had made more shorts on YouTube. Like, YouTube may not be around in 20, 30 years, but you are going to be laying...
Imagine, though?
I know, right? Like, wow, I could have done this great Animal Crossing short that was so revolutionary. And by 2060, the game is, you know, you can't progress by date anyway. But you will recognize that, you know, the importance is, you know, for me, it was recognizing that I'm creating a human, right? Like I'm helping him become a human being. And that's way more important, and I would probably argue a content creation in of itself. But what I did hear was that you seemed to understand what your procrastination personality was. I wanted to hear what you felt the benefits of understanding, like, where like there was a snag in your workflow. I mean, obviously figuring it out means that you are able to overcome it, but like, what do you feel is actually a benefit of your procrastination personality?
I think I make my best videos when I procrastinate, I think. But also, a benefit to recognizing it is you have to constantly work on yourself. Mm-hmm. And that is a form of me working on myself, is making it so that I am not editing until 2 or 3 in the morning. I do normal hours. And, you know, it feels like right now all I've done is add more to my plate, because I still am editing till 2 or 3 in the morning, but I'm getting up at 7:30 to go to the gym. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, okay, now let's figure out how to get the editing down. And so luckily I'm able to work with an editor. My friend Lissa does freelance editing for me. And so that's freaking amazing. Like, that's helping me so much, because then I could just make more cool stuff. And so learning how to like compensate and learning how to adjust the workflow so that I can kind of try to like figure out what is really important in my life. Like having an hour phone call with a family member every day. Like, you know, I've got to schedule that at dinner time. Like I have to, because like if I don't, then I'm going to be sitting at this damn computer on Premiere Pro for like 10 hours a day. And I just cannot do it. It's like the video can wait. Everything can wait. It can go up a day later than I planned on it being, because who's going to notice at the end of the day? Nobody's going to notice but me. Unless I have a schedule, which I'm sorry, can't do that. Nope. I've never been a schedule person. I cannot schedule uploads. I cannot schedule streams. I'm just not, I can't. I'm here when I'm here, you know? And that is a way that I've compensated as well, is not putting so much pressure on doing things by a very certain time. Unless I have an actual deadline, then yes, there's a couple times a month that I do have to have a actual deadline. But it's like, if I am doing one thing that I think is important, the video can wait an extra day or a couple hours. I'll wake up and I'll do it in the morning. I'll wake up early, you know, like I don't know. It's just, I'm just learning to forgive myself a little bit more and not be so hard on myself for stuff like that.
So I guess what I'm hearing from your personality is that you don't schedule things publicly, but you strive to have a schedule for everyday life maintenance. Is that accurate?
Yeah. If I do a public schedule, it's not happening on time. You're just going to be disappointed.
Yeah. Well, how do you work around? Because I strive to have personal schedules, and when I don't meet them, I get so frustrated with myself. And it's like I'm like, listen, it's really just an Animal Crossing video. It's really, in the grand scheme of things, it's not mind blowing or really important, other than just sharing a piece of me. But I do know that a lot of us who struggle with procrastinating and perhaps are just going through a time, and then you're not meeting your usual deadlines, that it can be so frustrating and debilitating and add more to the procrastination. So how did you come to incorporate forgiveness into your workflow?
By being a procrastinator. Because, like, inevitably, some things are just not going to happen. And for me, I'm learning how to make sure something is perfect. Why am I going to put out something subpar where if I just took an extra day, like, it would be exactly what I want it to be? So I have to be nice to myself and be like, all right, I'm going to step away from the computer for a couple hours, go touch grass for 15 minutes. I'm going to go stand outside or something. I'm going to come in and I'm going to make dinner instead of unfreezing whatever frozen noodles I have in the freezer. I'm going to make dinner, like I'm trying really, really hard to like forgive myself, because otherwise, like, I legitimately am at this computer for like 12 hours a day. And I need to be a little bit nicer on myself and like, just know that I can step away for just a second, and unfortunately it's going to get pushed, but that's just kind of life. Okay. It's the beauty of being your own boss. And I think a lot of business owners and people who run their own ship will know like what that feels like, where work totally consumes you. And for me, like, this is the most fun ever. I love making videos, and I could sit here and do it all day. At a certain point, it does start to feel like a job, particularly when you're in Premiere Pro and you're editing. And that's when it starts to feel like a job a little bit. But everything else is like, it is so fun and rewarding. But I think a lot of people that are their own boss, they just get so sucked into it. I just don't think it's fair to do to yourself.
Yeah, I did that in my mid-20s, where I had a huge like life-changing events where I left the country to be with my husband in Italy at the time. And despite my very expensive degrees in conflict resolution, I couldn't find a job, even though I had the right to work. And so I got into making comics, and I was like, the identity of making comics and illustrating was so important, because it's like I had something to prove in order to make money from something, that I was at the computer, I think, from 7 to 9 every day. And I was just drawing. And then I hit a wall. Yeah, I hit a wall, and I did not draw for years after that. And so I think what's really important, and what you are alluding to, is that incorporating touching grass and incorporating forgiveness into workflow is a great, it's a great way to combat burnout. And it's a great way to basically stick the finger up to the man and be like, no, capitalism sucks. That you're not just a machine, that you are a human being with a soul and a heart and family and friends and, needs outside of your computer for 12 hours a day.
Yeah. And like, YouTube will totally make you feel like you're a little cog in their machine whenever you take a break. And it's very unfortunate, because, I've been describing it as like crawling my way back into the algorithm.
Yeah.
I just kind of got to eat shit for a while. Oh, excuse me. I don't know.
You can curse. It's fine.
Cussing? Oh my God.
No, it's okay. You're fine. No, you're fine.
You just kind of do for a while, and then like things will start happening, but there's a long period of time where you're like, I feel like I'm doing all of this for nothing. And then, I don't know, you realize that, like, if you want it, you have to pedal to the metal, but you also have to be nice to yourself. You cannot constantly be grinding. I hate this grind culture or whatever that's particularly surrounding YouTube. I think it's horrible, and I think it's a terrible way to live your life.
I agree.
So, just do what makes you happy and do what pays the bills, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, that's what kind of scares me is that the cozy gaming community is definitely not immune to the effects of capitalism, consumerism, and grind culture. And what I always want to tell people, it's like, I know that I'm a small content creator. I know that, and that's totally fine. Not everyone is going to have hundreds of thousands of subscribers, and that's okay. That doesn't mean that you don't have value. But there's also something to be said about the fact that the symptoms of becoming obsessive and what I think procrastination or kinks in your workflow mean, and that like sometimes procrastination or sometimes like things that are just somehow suddenly hard, maybe you need to take a break, maybe you need to do something a little bit different, maybe you need to shift gears, which I think is a great segue to how does your procrastination personality affect the games that you play? And it's also seemed to have caused a pivot from your original Animal Crossing like focus to other things recently. So let's start with the first question about like how that affects the games that you play.
How it affects the games that I play.
Because you talked about like wanting to touch grass and like not wanting to be at your computer for 12 hours straight, but a lot of our games are on the computer in the office, being like office goblins hunched over, killing things.
God, I love my DS because you can guess what, you can DS and touch grass at the same time. Isn't that crazy?
Wild.
No, and the Switch is great. Bring it outside, bring it to lunch with your girlfriends, and you can and do whatever. I don't know. With the games that I play, I think, does anybody else do this? When I feel like this is part of almost like being a procrastinator, maybe, is I don't like to start new things. I don't like to do, I will rewatch the same show 6 times. I will rewatch the same movie 20 times because I don't want to watch a new thing. I will replay the same games over and over and over again because I know the game and I don't have to do any extra thinking or brain work to play the game because I know how to play the game. I know the game. And so I find myself replaying things from my childhood. I think that's something that I will just continue to do throughout the rest of my life is I just like the things that I'm comfortable with. And so I don't really play a lot of new games all the time. I play a lot of games because that's like my number one hobby. But when I am feeling like I don't want my brain to work too hard and I need to give it a little bit of a break, I'm just gonna open up Animal Crossing, or I'm gonna replay a Pokemon game, or I don't know. I just go back to what I know typically. So
well, I'm the opposite.
I forgot what your second question was.
No, my second question is how you pivoted from Animal Crossing, but I'm actually the complete opposite. I start new things and I don't finish, which means that like I started an Animal Crossing population growing thing and I think I played for a week and I haven't touched it in 6 months and they're going to be so mad at me because they're mean in that game. I started Cult of the Lamb and I purchased the DLC so that I'd actually finish it. I have the privilege of not needing to do this like completely, totally full time in order to make ends meet, but it's like I only have a certain amount of time in the week to produce content, like, right? So it's like I have Animal Crossing, which is a main, like, viewer income for me. And that sounds really awful. I'm so sorry, friends. You're more than
milking them for everything
I
they've
know.
got.
And then I got into Gamers Gab because I wanted to give people the platform to share their stories because their platforms may not have that ability to do so. And also it's like I get to make friends. And then I wanted to get into art so I could prove that I was like the artsy gamer and like remotely artistic, like doing it that way.
Very artistic, mind you.
Thank you. Then thank you. But I only have like a certain amount of time in the day or the week or, in content in order to make things. And so you, I think, started pivoting away from Animal Crossing. That was the second question, is that you started pivoting away from Animal Crossing. And I was curious what led to that decision to incorporate other content to your brand, so to speak.
I never wanted to be a one game channel. I always wanted to incorporate other things that I like Animal Crossing. I hate to say it, maybe this makes me fake. It's not my favorite game of all time. It's
Oh,
Stardew Valley. I have decided definitively that is my favorite game of all time because
it
I grew
is.
up playing Harvest Moon,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that Stardew Valley is just like doing it so much better. Like
Mm-hmm.
it took what Harvest Moon had done previously, obviously, but perfect game in my opinion. Stardew Valley is my favorite game. And so I never wanted to just solely play Animal Crossing on my channel. I do want to play more games because as cool as it is to replay Pokemon Diamond right now, I'm replaying for like the eighth time. I don't even know. As cool as it is to like replay games,
Mm-hmm.
I want to play more and I want
Mm-hmm.
to experience indie games. Like I never really played indie games
Oh,
that
there's
much.
so many coming out. I'm so
And
excited.
so I
Oh.
want to I want to share that experience with people
Mm-hmm.
and I want to like I don't know. I just want to play more stuff, see what else is out there, see
Mm-hmm.
everything.
Mm-hmm.
And having a YouTube channel, I think, puts me in a unique position where I can make content out of that and it
Mm-hmm.
pushes me to want to do it more. And
Mm-hmm.
so it's kind of like a win-win. Like we did a nice little deal here where we're like, okay, you can play more games if you make a YouTube video about it. And so, yeah, here I am. That's what I want to do. I want to incorporate more variety into the videos that I put out on the channel. I want to play more games. I want to play all the games. I think they're all cool. Why not?
Is there a certain equation in which you produce videos specifically for Animal Crossing? Do you know what I mean? Like we know certain content creators who make certain videos in certain ways. Like Cora from Koramora has a very good informational equation or a way that she describes things in Animal Crossing with her little bit of humor, right? And I think what's been really difficult for a lot of content creators who made their mark effectively with Animal Crossing that it's like, this game is so easy to make content for. How the heck do we apply that to other games? Which is what I kind of love about your approach to Stardew Valley is that you completely went a completely different direction with Stardew Valley and you did it beautifully. So what was the
I stole
process?
that. Oh, I totally stole that though. I'm a content snatcher, okay? It's the name of the game, baby. But the 100-day challenge, people
Mm-hmm.
were doing that for Minecraft for a very long time,
Mm-hmm.
and it kind of bled into other games. I
Mm-hmm.
think is how it got started based on
Mm-hmm.
my research, which is probably not very good. I saw that people were doing 100 days in Stardew Valley and I was like,
Mm-hmm.
I played a bunch of Stardew Valley, but I'm not like the best at it. And
Mm-hmm.
so I'm going to try this. I'm going to try this video style. And then I did a 200 days and now I'm working on perfection, however many days that takes. And
Wow.
for that, I totally stole that idea. You know, it's like, what does Ludwig call it? The yoink and twist. Like literally, like we all just steal from each other.
Mm-hmm.
I wish I could find a way to make it easier to make videos about other games the way that I made it easy for Animal Crossing.
Yeah.
Because for that was like, it took me a day to pump out a video, you know,
Mm-hmm.
like just a day,
Yeah.
just like, all right, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to think about my video concept the day of.
Mm-hmm.
Can't imagine doing that now. Think about my video concept the day of, get everything all ready, whatever I need to do, get myself all ready, and then I'm going to record and then I'm going to edit and it'll be done by 2 a.m., you know? That is like a day excursion. That's why I was able to pump out so much
Yeah.
stuff with that. And with other games, I kind of want to change it up. I'm still in the process of figuring out exactly what that means.
Mm-hmm.
I've tried to do Let's Play style stuff. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not the best Let's Player because I'm not the most reliable player. Because I'm gonna, like you, move on quickly to a different
Mm-hmm.
game and I'm gonna not finish everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that creates a problem for my YouTube channel. So what I tried to do was I tried to play shorter games, like
Mm-hmm.
games that are like under 10 hours, and condense
Oh,
that all into a video, cut
nice.
it down to like a good 30, 45 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes those bang and sometimes those don't. I'm trying to figure out the content plan, whether that's incorporating the second channel that I abandoned or
Mm-hmm.
what, because I really like video game reviews. I love like Video Game Donkey. I love those types of videos.
Mm-hmm.
I also love like Scott the Woz is like one of my favorite YouTubers. How do I be my own version of me,
Mm-hmm.
but also like taking inspiration from all of these different content styles I like, because they make very different videos, but I like them both. And so I want to be that kind of person, I guess. I want to be like them, and I want to do that for cozy games, which I feel like maybe could be my unique thing, I guess. So that's I guess, the plan.
That's really cool.
But I don't really have a great plan.
So what games that you've played that are under 10 hours that you've really enjoyed, that have kind of, it sounds like shorter games have also been kind of like a mental reset for you as well, because it's allowed for you to, in smaller chunks, kind of like figure out your game plan for games like Stardew Valley or other like indie games that are coming out, which, by the way, if you have never heard of Grave Seasons, Liss. Grave Seasons.
I'm gonna write it down right now.
Yeah, you need to, because it's like Stardew Valley, but there's a murder mystery, and one of the NPCs is a murderer, and you have to figure out in this small town who it is, and you may actually marry them and also build your farm.
This looks so cute.
It is. It's very cute. And then there's another one.
Oh my God, Cozy Games, Cozy K. Kennedy made a TikTok about it. I'm gonna watch it.
Yep. And then there's another one that I've been waiting on for literal years, where it's like Stardew Valley in space. I think that was their selling point, and it's called One Lonely Outpost, which I think is coming out this year, and I'm so excited. So highly recommend that, especially if you're kind of in that, what was that T-shirt thing that you sold, that like real gamers play farming sims?
Real gamers, yes.
Yep. I love that.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, it's true.
It is absolutely true.
You've seen that copy pasta before? The one about Stardew Valley is not a real game, ladies. Animal Crossing is not a real game, ladies. Play a real game for once, like Call of Duty. It's kind of the gist of it.
Wow. Could you imagine like gatekeeping like that? Like, one of my favorite things that I loved learning from Iona is this notion that some people can't afford gaming consoles, and that it is really important to start sharing mobile games, because mobile games are coming out not as just gotcha games, but like actual games that you can play on your phone, because almost everyone has the ability to some capacity have a smartphone for whatever reason. And I think that's really cool that in the same line of thinking that we are also providing that option for those who perhaps struggle with, ADHD, neurodivergence, or whatever in content creation. And hopefully the algorithm will become a lot more kind, but unfortunately, I don't think it ever will.
Well, that's a huge goal for me too, because I did not realize how much money was in mobile games and how much is being invested into mobile games in general. Oh yeah. And so they are coming out in droves. They are making so many mobile games, and a lot of them are going to be hot garbage. But some of them have got to have something redeemable, right? Oh, yeah. I mean, I like Stardew Valley on the phone. That's fine. They have old school RuneScape on the phone. I'll do that. Wow. But I really and I really want to look for those kind of hidden gems, I guess, maybe that offer that great of an experience, because
that would be a good
I think a lot of mobile games are literally hot garbage. I'm sorry. I even think that way about
Pocket Camp? Do you say Pocket Camp? No, I'm sorry. I'm a
hater.
I don't find enjoyment from it. I don't use my phone for much of anything. And so if you use that and you find joy, that's fine. Like, I'm not yucking anybody's yum, but I'm just not a mobile game player.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
I've never found enjoyment either from it. And I really hate gacha. I do not like microtransactions in any sense of the word. I just get such an ick from it. And for some reason, that just really, really turns me off. Even though people say that Pocket Camp is redeemable, right? Like, I get it. I have such an aversion. I can't even stop myself from gagging.
Well, it's funny because, in living in South Korea, everyone, like, you were so interconnected with your phone. Like, my phone number is effectively my identification in this country. Like, if my phone is not connected to me to some capacity, I'm not a resident here. Like, I have no legal standing. And so,
Wow.
yeah. And so because we have such a huge transportation culture with, or public transportation culture, I should say, that people are on their phones all the time and they are watching games, they're playing games. And so I think that would be a really cool niche for you if that's something you are interested in starting small and working your way up, is finding those hidden gems yeah, maybe. I know, with like all of your ample free time, Liz. I know.
You have to. You're diving into the river of trash, and you gotta get, like, come on, I'm not gonna go pan for gold in the river of trash. Like,
No, that's
I'll
fair.
wait until people start telling me good mobile games.
No, that's fair. That's fair. That's totally fair. But I think that leads to a really great pivot into our final question, is like, what would you suggest or recommend for people getting into content creation who struggle with feeling overwhelmed by certain games or getting into content creation in general? Because I fully understand, like, wanting to get into a game, but being like, that's way too much time and I don't have that time. Like, what would you recommend to people who are wanting to kind of like dip their toes into things, but, have those struggles?
With content creators,
Mm-hmm.
if you're discouraged by being late in any capacity, I am late to quite literally everything. I didn't start making Animal Crossing videos, I think, until 2 months after Animal Crossing came out.
I was October.
And yeah, exactly. I think a lot of people that have the longevity in the space maybe didn't push themselves too hard. I noticed that the early players, in terms of content creators for Animal Crossing, do not make Animal Crossing content anymore, and we're just really trying to hop on the popular train, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that if you truly, truly love a game and you think that you have something to offer to the online community, whether that be being a Stan account on Twitter or making YouTube videos, making TikToks, whatever capacity that is, I say go for it.
Mm-hmm.
Don't ever think like, oh, I'm too late. Oh, I missed the craze or whatever. You never know what's going to happen. You have absolutely no idea what's going to happen. You can't predict the future.
Mm-hmm.
And if you genuinely find joy in making content like that, you could have longevity in the space. If you don't like it and it's not for you, it's really not for everybody, then, no sweat. At least you tried it once. At least. There's nothing wrong with trying everything once. And if you're trying to get started into content creation and you're scared of it for whatever reason, I understand, but sometimes you kind of just got to dive in the water.
Do the scary
and
thing.
Just see.
Yeah,
do the scary thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's worth it for a lot of people. It's not for everybody, but I think that it is. And we talk about, like, getting obsessed with creating content, and we talk about getting sucked into it in a way that maybe affects our personal lives in a lot more ways than we like to admit. I genuinely, I don't feel bitter about that at all. I think it's fun to be obsessed with something. So, and I think it's fun to like what you do, and it's fine. And so, who knows? Maybe it could be a job for you someday, right? Like, that's what I would say to people. You never know what's going to happen.
And it's also okay if it isn't. I do want to remove the taboo of having the day job. That was something that in comic work, that like the day job provides the stability to do the things that you love. So if you don't make money from YouTube, that's okay. But if you do, that's great. That just means you get to file your taxes 4 times a year instead of once. And that's awesome. So.
Yeah, no, exactly. I see nothing wrong with that either, because I think I look at people that have day jobs, and then, like, have you ever seen people that are like, oh, I have my job to pay for my life? Like, they just go to work, they clock in, and then they get to do all the fun stuff afterwards. They don't even give a single shit about what they're doing at work. It's like, yeah, I think everybody should be living like that. First of all,
I agree.
Everybody. I think that there's something toxic about loving what you do a little bit, just a little tiny bit, a little bit of toxicity. But I think that having YouTube as a hobby is so fun, and you can really, really tell through the screen who really likes it and who doesn't. And I just love when people are having fun. That's it.
Yep.
So
I agree.
I don't know.
And with Gamers Gab, I think what it constantly revitalizes why I do this, and it kind of has me check my toxicity, and that's really important. So like connecting with other people and recognizing that maybe I do need to take a break. Maybe I do need to see like why I'm procrastinating on things, and you know, utilizing it as a symptom of what my life is telling me that I need, which is why, as I said, Liss, I love your content. I love the fact that it constantly has me kind of like check myself. And I don't know if you did that on purpose. I know that you said that you did it for you starting out, and the fact that it helps other people is just kind of like a secondary thing. But truly, Liss, your content, your presence online is a consistent delight and joy. And I'm so glad that we finally got to have this conversation.
Yes, no, this was cool. I hope that was enlightening to people, or did I talk too much? I don't know.
It is your interview.
I talk a lot, I think, and I ramble, and I'm not very good at keeping a point. So
No.
if you felt that way,
nah.
shout out to you.
No, not at all. Well, that's not, the episode wasn't for them then. But anyway, Liss, we are at the end of our interview, and I want to say thank you so much for joining us. How can we aggressively promote you? Where can we find you? What can we do to put the links in the description below in order to send people your way?
Oh, well, thank you. I'm on YouTube as Liss the MOST. I am on TikTok. Actually, not anymore. I got banned from TikTok because they banned me for being underage. I'm 26. Don't know what they want me to do about that. I'm also on, I think I got mass reported or something. I don't know.
Oh, wow.
Anyways, on TikTok, they are very ban heavy. So be careful out there, TikTokers. And I'm on Twitch, Liss the MOST, I believe. And I'm on Twitter. I'm very funny on Twitter. You are very funny on Twitter.
Are you also on Instagram? I thought you were.
I am.
Okay,
I am on Instagram.
Okay,
Yeah, I'm working on an Instagram rebrand because I've been trying to be stylish and buy clothes and be cute. And so I'm working on like getting my like fashion sense where I want it to be so that I can be cool on Instagram.
Actually, same. That's kind of like what I'm going to be doing this summer on my break. That's going to be really fun. That's so wild that I know. It's wild. I also just need to get my hair cut today. It's driving me nuts. But anyway, that's not the point. The point is, friends, we want to thank you so much for watching. Please be sure to support, Liss in any way that you can. And if you can give her a subscribe over on the YouTube, obviously, but also on the Twitch, throw a couple bucks her way if you have the budget to do so. But your presence is always a delight. And we'll catch you next time. Goodbye.
Okay, thank you guys. Thank you.